Hello, everybody. So let's start. So in previous session, we discussed Java reserved words and introduction to data types. Okay, so today we will uh, dive into data types in detail. So before that, I will tell you something in real life which you have seen. For example, you have a polythene. Okay, a poly bag is there. Then you have a paper bag is there. Then you have a hard plastic bag. Then you have a wooden box. Okay. Now in poly bag, you cannot keep hot items. In like paper bag, you cannot keep liquid items. Then when we have wooden box, again you cannot keep liquid items. It can come out. So what do you see here? The container type will decide that what kind of item you can hold in the container. Okay, you can put in the container. Again, if the polythene is small, you can put less quantity of items. If it is big, you can put more quantity of items. If the paper bag is bigger than the polythene, then paper bag will hold more items. Polythene will hold less items. So the size of the container and the type of the container decides that okay, what kind of values it can hold and how much it can hold. Okay, so similar, you just match it to the data types in Java. Okay, I will show you. So let's start with the first one. It's byte. Okay. Again, it's a reserved word we discussed, right? These are the words whose meaning is already defined and explained inside Java. So we cannot use it as an identifier, and it's a data type. Okay. Again, the same thing which I said, the polythene. And so you can just imagine that, okay, byte is a kind of a container. Okay. Which can hold the size of values, which can hold size 8 bits. Okay. 8 bits, or you can say 1 byte. That is the size it can hold. Plus its range is minus 128 to 127. So if your value is ranging from minus 128 to 127, you can put that value in the variable whose type is byte. Okay. And the size of byte is 8 bits, 1 byte. Okay. Now, as we have already discussed that these are signed types, okay, because they are numeric. So signed types. So you can add minus 128 also, plus 127 also. 1, 2, 3, anything in between you can hold in the byte. Now let's take a program example. So here, so this double slashes you see I have used, this is basically, it shows comments. If you don't want any line to run while execution, you just put these slashes in front of that line and it will become a comment. Okay. Now, suppose I'm removing one comment. Byte B is equal to 10. Okay. Here you see, I am holding 10 in a B variable whose type is byte. Okay. And I'm running it. What should happen? It should run successfully. 10. Okay. Again, but if you see, I'm doing something else. Now I'm saying byte B is equal to minus 127. Okay. It should also run because again, it is coming in the range minus 127. Okay. It displays. Now let's take a negative scenario. Suppose I am doing the range is minus 128 to 127. Let's take 128. It is out of range. It should not run ideally. It should give a compile time error. You will see. You see, exception in thread main, java.lang error cannot convert from int to type. So it is considering this value as integer. Why? Because it is beyond the range of byte. And this is a type mismatch. Okay. So that kind of compile time error we will get and we cannot run. Okay. Again, let's take, okay, let me take point decimal value in byte. Let's see what happens. Again, the same thing, type mismatch. It is saying this is a double value, this is not byte. So I cannot convert it. Why? Because the container B cannot hold this value, because this value is not in the range we talked about. Okay, minus 128 to 127. It does not belong to that. So it cannot hold in that. Okay. Let's move to the next type. The second type of the data type is short. The size is 2 bytes, or you can say 16 bits, because 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. So 2 bytes, 16 bits. Range will be its range is very long, basically minus 32768 to 32767. Okay, so basically it is minus 2 to the power 15 to 2 to the power 15 minus 1, which I have mentioned in number format. Okay, so this is the range. Again, let's see an example for short. Let's take a short example. So here I have defined students variable. It's a type of variable, as I told you, right? You can write any word here of your choice. So I'm saying that, okay, this is my variable. This is the type I have defined, and this is the value it is holding. This is, again, these are two short values, and I want to print it. So I have put it in the system.out.println. So here it is saying numbers of students. Why it is printing like that? Not only students, because we have, anytime you want to print any sentence, okay, as it is, then you put it in double quotes in system.out.println, and it will form a string and it will print on the screen. Okay, so here you see it is printing number of students as it is, but here students, it is not printing students, it is printing the value of students. Why? Because students is a variable, but this is a string will be printed as it is. Okay, similarly here temperature will be printed in double quotes. It is right, it will be printed as it is, but we have added it with, concatenated it with temp is what? Temp is a variable, so its value will be printed. So here you again see the console. In the console you see numbers of students 1000, temperature minus 200. Okay, let's move to the next type, which is int. Size will be 4 bytes, and range is, you can say, minus 2 power, I'm just writing like that, I'm not writing the exact number here because it's a huge number, minus 2 to the power 31 to 2 to the power 31 minus 1. Okay, so you can change it into the numeric format. So minus 2 to the power 31 to 2 to the power 31 minus 1. Usually you don't have to remember this. What you should be remembering is the size. Okay, it's 1 byte, 2 byte, 4 byte. This is very important, because usually what the numbers we use in the program or in the automation testing, wherever we are mentioning these, they come in the int we use, it works beautifully. Okay, so let's take some example for int. So here I have defined population type of variable, which is int. Population variable is the name of variable, int is the type of variable, and this is the value it is holding. Okay, again, distance is the name of the variable, int is the type, and this is the value it is holding. Okay, and then we will print it. Let's see, it prints population, this, distance, this. Okay, let's come to the next type of data types, which is long. Now in the long, why we are using long? Let me first tell you what is the size, then I'll tell why we are using. Size is 8 bytes, and range is, again, minus 2 power 63 to 2 power 63 minus 1. Okay. Here, so this is this is not a power word. Okay. Take it like minus 2 to the power 63. Like in maths, how do we do, right? Minus 2 to the power 63 to 2 to the power 63 minus 1. Okay. Now here, whenever the value of, if you want to take a like a very small value, okay, in this range minus 128 to 127, we use byte. Okay, then in this range, then we use short. But this is a conceptual thing, right? But ideally, in day-to-day practice, most of the integral values you take as int only. Okay, and it works fine. But sometimes the value is too big. Okay, that, like for example, the amount of distance traveled by light, or the distance between this and that, the planets and these things we calculate, it's a huge values, they cannot accommodate in int. So that time we will use long. Okay, its size is 8 bytes and this is the range. Let's take an example. We have a long. So here you see the word population is this. It's a variable name. Long is the type. Long is the type. And see, one thing is important here. Whenever you define long, you have to mention L, okay, in front of the constant value. Either you put L or small l, both will work. But it has to be, see, L is also fine, small l is also fine, but one L is important. If you don't put, it will not consider it as long. Okay, so long variable value. So we need L, and integer we don't put anything. In byte, short, we don't put any character in front, but in long we have to put L. This is the huge values. Now let us print it. So that's why we are not using integer in this case, because the values are large. So you would say, I don't know, it might print. Okay, so let me show you. It will not print. If I take int in place of long, what is happening? See, now if I try to print, it will give you compile time error. The literal this of type int is out of range, means the value, this 78, these zeros, this value int is not able to hold. Because as I said, right, if polythene is small and your value is extremely big, it's not able to hold. So here it's not able to, it's giving you a compile time error. That's why we used long, because long will hold extremely large values. If you have long will hold. Next data type will be float. Okay, so when I say float, it's part of floating point data type. Float is, so float and double, as I've already told you, right, these are decimals. Decimal like 1.1, 3.6 we have seen in mathematics. So if decimal values you want to hold, then you have to use float or double. Now float, its size is 4 bytes and decimal places, it will give you the result are 5 to 6. Okay, 5 to 6 decimal places of accuracy it can give maximum. Okay, max to max 5 to 6 decimal places of accuracy it is going to give you. Now if I say range, then range is minus 3.4 E38 to 3.4 E38. So what is this? My E? It is 10 to the power. Okay, so minus 3.4 into 10 to the power 38 to 3 to the power into 10 to the power 38. Okay, now let me explain double also, and then we can see the examples of both together. Size is 8 bytes. Decimal places will be 14 to 15. So maximum 14 to 15 accuracy, decimal places accuracy it will show. And then size is minus 1.7 E38 to 1.7 E38. Okay, so this is the decimal values. Now here there is something important, is that, see, I'll show you. In the float, again, as in long, you have to say small l, capital L, right? Similarly, in the float, you have to mention F. F needs to be mentioned, otherwise it will not consider it as float, because by default, JVM considers decimal values as double. Okay, so if you want float, then this. Now let's print. So we all know the pi value, right? So here you see what it is giving, 3.14, 9.81. It is giving the values with this decimal precision. I said now maximum 4 to 5. So till 5 to 6. So till 6 decimal precision, max to max float will give. Means after decimal, the number of values till where it will go is maximum 5 to 6. Okay. But if we see here double, and I'm giving a pi, it will give me, because this is huge, right? Because double can give you a precision of 14 to 15 decimal places. So that's the difference. Double is, again, the, if you want more precision, you want that, okay, I want after decimal point, 10, till 10 it should go. The value has to be extremely precise, then you use double. If it is 1 or 2 decimal places is fine, then you use float. Okay, and by default JVM considers the decimal values as float, as double. So if you want float, then you have to mention it as F after the constant value. Next is Boolean. Now in Boolean, the size and range is, you can say, not applicable. It is applicable. It is dependent on the runtime machine. Okay, so it's not very precise, the size and range, but the what is important here to notice, allowed values are only two. What are those? True, false. Okay, there is no size and range specific for Boolean, but for Boolean data type, one thing you have to remember, that there are only two values you can mention, either true or false. Okay, let's see an example. Here, just remove one of the comments and let's just print it. Is Java fun? Why it is printing like this? Because I have mentioned it in double quotes, right? So it will print as it is. This is Java fun system.out.println. So this will print as it is, and B will print the value of the B variable. So what value it is giving? True. Okay, because we mentioned true. But as I've already mentioned you, right, that Java is a case sensitive language. So if Java is case sensitive, and today I want to say like this, I've just made the small t into capital T. Let's see what happens. You see, true cannot be resolved to a variable because true is not the default value which I talked about, right? The reserved word was what? TRUE. You remember? So that is the reserved word. True is not a reserved word. This is a string. And if it is a string, you have to put it in double quotes, and then other things you have to do to fix it. So Boolean is not going to accept it. It is only going to accept normal small letter TRUE and FALSE. Only these things is going to accept. Now if I try to put a string into Boolean, what will happen? So again, cannot convert from string to Boolean, because as soon as you have put double quotes, it is considering this true as string. And you cannot put string, you cannot put liquid into a polythene, hot liquid into a polythene, right? It will go out. So the polythene is of type Boolean. So it will not take string value. Next we have, let's see, character. Okay, so char data type, its size is 2 bytes, and it is going to, so how we will define character, let's see. And Unicode format. Okay, Java follows, for characters Java follows Unicode format. Okay, not ASCII format, but Unicode format. Let's see here. The type of variable is char, the name of variable is grade, and the value you have put is a. Okay, so character will take single characters. Okay, in a string you have seen, right, multiple, but here it will have only, it needs to have only single character. So, and it has to be in the quote marks. You cannot directly write just a, you have to put single quotes. Now print it. It is printing. Okay, grade A, symbol dollar. Now let's talk about here default values. Let me show you here itself. So default value is when your, when are you going to see the default values? Default values you will see when, you are not assigning any value, but the JVM is giving itself some values. Okay, so for example, you just do like this. Okay, you have mentioned it here, because instance variables and static variables, there are only two variables whom JVM gives the default values. So for example, you have mentioned this, it just after the class. Okay, this variable outside this method or any method. Okay, it has to be just on the class level, and you have not said, okay, char grade is equal to this, or int equal to just the initialization you did not do. You just written int x, char grade byte b, that's it. Then what will happen when you want to use it? Then JVM is going to itself provide the default values. So that default values we are talking about. So for byte it will provide 0 default value, again 0. For integer also 0. L. For long, as we know, you have to put L. For float, it will give 0.0 F. For double, it is going to give 0.0. For Boolean, the default value will be, wait a second. Default value will be false. For char, default value will be that is the default value for the char. This is also known as null character. Okay. So this is what we have completed for today's topic. Byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, and char. These are the containers which will contain the variable values. And since we have discussed that JVM is Java is a strongly typed language. So JVM, the compiler basically checks the type compatibility of each. Whenever you are going to define any variable anywhere, compiler is going to check the type compatibility. Means the correct type of value is being placed in the container, and the what is the naming convention, the syntax, everything compiler is going to check for your this variables, and also for wherever you are